Hello folks, so in the last video we were able to get the segue set up so that when somebody clicks on a row of data, we send information to our add and edit view controller. So just as a reminder, when somebody clicks the edit, we send over the to-do and we send over the index of the to-do. In the case of the add segue, there was nothing really to do because we're going to leave the next view controller empty so people can fill it all in. Our next job over here is to make sure we pre-fill this form with the data from this cell that we clicked on. So we want to make sure we pre-fill all of this data. So how are we going to do that? Well, the first question is, do we have an edit or do we have an add? If we have an add, we don't have anything to do. If we have an edit, we got some work to do. How am I going to check if we have an edit? Well, we know we have an edit if there's an index. Because if there's an index, it means that there was an edit segue, right? If there's no index, it means that we must have done an add. So the way I'm going to check for an edit is I'm going to do something interesting here. I'm going to say if let underscore equals self dot index of to do. Okay, this means if this value actually is a value, go into this if. I don't really care what the value of this is right now, so I'm just throwing it in a throwaway variable. All I care about is I make it into this if. So now that I'm in this if, I can start pre-filling some of these fields with the data that I have. So how am I going to do that? Well, let's start with the title. So I'm going to say, we're going to say self dot the title dot text. Don't forget, it is a text field, and we're going to say that's equal to self dot the to-do dot the title. The next one will be self dot the... sorry, this was not the to-do, this was the title. Oh boy. Okay, that's much better. And then this next one will be self dot the details dot text is equal to self dot the to do dot the to do dot the description. Sorry, I renamed description to details, so that's a little bug that I did, but you should get the idea. So far, I pre-filled the title, and I pre-filled the details using the description. I now have to preset this segmented control. The key here is, though, the segmented control is based on the integers. Low is 0, normal's 1, high is 2, urgent is 3. But in the to-do, my priority is based on an enum that has no integers. So I have to do a little conversion from the enum to the appropriate integer. So how am I going to do that? Well, it's kind of interesting. I'm going to say self dot the priority dot segmented index is equal to. So this has to be an integer. So what is the segmented index going to equal to? I can't make it equal to self dot the to do dot the to do dot the priority because they will be incompatible. Because this is an enum and this is an integer. So instead, I'm going to do something interesting. I'm going to put a closure here. So what I have here is a little closure that is going to allow me to do some work. In the closure, we're going to set up a switch. And I'm going to switch on the actual priority in the to-do. So the priority, and we're going to do, first of all, case of dot low, we're going to return 0. In the case of dot normal, we're going to do return 1. In the case of dot high, we're going to do return 2. And in the case of dot urgent, we're going to do return 3. Now, because this is a little closure, we have to make sure the closure executes at this moment. If we just left it like this, all we have is a chunk of code that won't necessarily execute. To force the execution of this, I'm going to add some parentheses. And by using the parentheses, this will now execute. And it'll convert the enum to the appropriate integer, and it'll set the segmented index. A nice little chunk of code. Okay. The next thing we have to do is we have to deal with these two fields. We have to deal with the switch, and we have to deal with the picker. So, what we want to do is we want to check if we have a to-do, right? So we want to check if we have a to-do. Not a to-do, if we have a due date. So we'll have if self dot the to-do dot due date is not equal to nil. That means we have a due date. If that's the case, I have 3 things to do. Number 1, I want to turn the switch on. Self dot has due date dot is on equals true. I also want to turn on I want to enable the due date. So self due date dot is enabled equals true. And finally, I want to preset the due date in the picker to what it is in the to-do. So I'll do self dot due date dot date equals self dot the to-do dot due date. Now, this sets up all of our fields. This sets up our title, our details, our priority, our switch, and our due date. Notice one thing. All of this is inside that if, right? I don't want to do any of this unless I am doing an edit. So I want to make sure I'm in an edit at the point I do any of this. If I have an add, I set up some basic defaults and I skip the rest. So let's give this a go. So we got a successful build, always a good sign, as you know. So I'm going to start by just doing a normal add to make sure everything looks fine. So that looks good. We have a normal add. Now let's do a quick add. And right here, I'll type in the title. Now let's click add. So there we go, we have a title. It was made on January 31st, so let's now click this. You'll see that the title is pre-filled and the normal is pre-filled, and none of this is set because they weren't set to begin with. So it looks like the edit pre-filling is working. Our next job is to get the actual add button to work, and we're going to look at that next. So let's talk about that in the next video. Thank you very much. Have a great day.